Hi guys, this is Srinivas again. So 2 days ago, I made a video on how DOGE, the government efficiency program in the US, found COVID funds abuse after it shut down the USAID program and audited the USAID program spendings before shutting it down. And they found a lot of money being circulated or funded by USAID into a lot of Asian countries, into all sorts of different NGOs and government programs directly, as well as private partners and so on. So then I chanced upon a NIH website page which talked about how CDC had undertaken a zombie apocalypse mitigation kit, which it had created a hypothetical situation. If this occurs in future, if there's a zombie apocalypse, what would you need to do to prepare yourself for a zombie apocalypse, and then how can you create certain kit which will help you. And NIH had written a white paper kind of to assess whether that preparedness kit which CDC talked about, is that will that knowledge transfer to action and knowledge itself, basically, is it practical or not. So, and I was inquisitive since 2020 when I read the first article on CDC about the zombie apocalypse, that how will the zombies be created? Will it be similar to what they have shown us in the movies, or how? And then since 2020 all the way till 2025 February today, we know that there has been a huge big pharma scam called the COVID, where they have injected almost three-fourths of the population, or at least they have tried to do it on the three-fourth population of the entire globe. So I recalled this morning that in 2020 I read chanced upon um, about a BSL laboratory in Pune in India. BSL stands for Biosafety Laboratories, and they have ratings for BSL 3, 4, and so on. So there is a biosafety program which was created in America again. This is the NIH website from. Uh, this is an American website, the NIH website, same website where we read the zombie apocalypse efficacy article. So they talk about establishment of bio-level safety 3 laboratories, important criteria to consider while designing, constructing, commissioning, and operating the facilities in India settings. So and it's an article from 2014 August. So they are talking about biosafety level 3. There are biosafety level 3, level 4, and other levels as well, where these are the laboratories where you ensure that none of the experimented samples in the laboratory does not escape the laboratory. So it's kind of a containment mechanism and certification of the lab to be a biosafety lab of a certain level. So they have started talking about this in specifically in Indian settings back in 2015 when the article was written. And here they have Indian Environment Protection Act of 1986, which they mentioned that the government has the power to take all the safety measures as it deems necessary for the purpose of protecting and improving the quality of the environment and preventing, controlling, and abating damage to the environment, including laying down procedures and safeguards and handling hazardous substances and so on and so forth. Basically, they are talking about how to handle if a BSL if something leaks out of a biosafety lab. So the level of preparedness started a while ago, right from 1896 onwards. So this is an article dated, mm, I think 2021 May. So right when they were talking about wave 3, I suppose, or wave 2. Biosafety level 3 labs, why India needs more of them to brace for the future pandemics. So in 2021, when we were already 1.5 years into the pandemic, and then the vaccinations were already available since January of 2021, and there was a second booster dose which was also available from March onwards. So then they started talking about why do we need BSL level 1 to 4, different kinds of vaccines, and this and that. So the interesting part here is that such labs are heavily funded from America. Why am I talking about this? Is these labs have been funded, co-funded, should I say, and major portions of the fund as well as the entire know-how and the details of how the lab should be set up, what do you do with the labs, why do we need the labs, such things have come from the US. The US Center of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, determined biosafety labs of level. This is an Indian media article, indiatoday.in, and they are talking about US CDC, which was headed by Dr. Fauci. At that time, we discussed about this in the previous video as well. So this is another website. This is a Indian government website of ICMR, National Institutes of Virology, Pune. So ICMR is a central authority of Indian Council of Medicine Research, and this came to limelight. This particular department came to limelight during the COVID time because Dr. Ravindra Guleria, who was heading this department, was giving his expert commentary on how to deal with COVID and and the details about the virus and so on. So this particular institute uh, did catch my eye because it was the one where they started talking about testing, the isolating the virus, trying to isolate the virus, finding out the severity of how the virus is, all the various variants, the strains which were coming out, and so I just wanted to read this bit to you guys. So NIV, ICMR NIV is one of the major institutes of Indian Council of Medical Research. It was established in Pune, Maharashtra in 1952. 52, 1952, 70 years ago, as a virus research center under the auspice of ICMR and the Rockefeller Foundation, USA. So Rockefeller Foundation, which funded the John Hopkins lockstep white paper, which which was a detailed orchestration of how the governments and the agencies will behave when a pandemic hits the country. And the same lockstep orchestration was used across the globe by every government. Is the same Rockefeller Foundation which has funded this particular institute, this virus research center, and not very recently, back in 1952. So you can imagine the plan, the vision, if they call it, for humanity, to save humanity, which these guys had. It was an outcome of the global program of Rockefeller Foundation for investigating arthropods borne viruses. So viruses which were born out of arthropods. So that was it. The Rockefeller Foundation withdrew its support in 1967, and since then the institute is entirely funded by ICMR. Okay, it says this here, but in 2020 I read, I think it was a Times of India article. I'm not able to find that article on the internet now. It said Rockefeller Foundation has been funding this particular NIAV about $162 million uh, in the last 10 years or so. $162 million. $162 million is a huge amount when you talk about Indian spend, all sorts of spends in India, even today, that is 2025. And this was 4 or 5 years ago when the inflation was not that bad. And that too, the funds were coming even before that. So at that time, I didn't know about USAID much, and I was not too bent on which agency in the US was funneling funds to inside India. But yeah, Rockefeller Foundation was one of the agencies which was making direct grants, and later to cover their tracks, they spread the money through various different kind of NGOs and even governments directly. So, but the the point is that these institutions which they are building, the labs which they are building, These labs are still standing. They are getting stronger by the day. They are getting more sophisticated by the day. The only thing which is getting more complex and fuzzy is the narrative. So the money is reaching the people, and the agenda is pretty much advancing in the right direction, the direction which these guys want to. There's another article which I wanted to bring in front of you. How CRISNCL is playing a key role in Omicron fight. So it says food. Then there's another small setup called Pune Knowledge Cluster. Is coordinating a genome sequence project. Okay, so genome sequence project is also a talk of the town when it comes to the sudden pandemic, pre-pandemic, which a lot of people call it a pandemic. Even President Trump at point in time called it a pandemic. Had set up a genome surveillance project. So it is the keyword here is surveillance. They are surveilling the genome, funded by Rockefeller Foundation, as a part of which samples are procured from all over Pune and beyond the BJ Government Medical College. So there is again funds coming in from the US, and this article is a smoking gun. Actually, it talks about why the funds have come in, because they wanted to do genome surveillance project, and it's a surveillance project, mind you. So in future, your genome will be surveilled somehow. Your genetic information will be surveilled, and so all procured sample all over Pune. How are they procuring the samples? You can see this photo here. Are you familiar with this photo? These guys are wearing these suits, which all medical people have been seen in across the globe during the COVID times. He's holding a temperature gun. She's the lady here is wearing a mask. All of them are wearing masks as well, and there is a hand sanitizer up here. She's having a oximeter on her finger, and this guy is making a reading, and what they are not showing in this photo is definitely she is undergoing to go a PCR test. So those special PCR swab collecting, sample collecting things in the name of PCR are what how they get to have your genome information collected, which this article talks about. It's a paid article. I'm not able to find read through the entire thing, but that's what happened, and it will be used for surveillance in future. So this is a big thing which nobody talked about in the mainstream media. There are articles people hardly read these days, and if even the way legacy media behaves, people are not really involved much into the for a debate or a discussion on what exactly a genome is and how will it be used for surveillance in the future. Then there's another newspaper called Pune Mirror. It's basically a Times of India undertaking. Pune in Rockefeller's most resilient cities list. So it says civic officials are hopeful that the network of modern cities will help the smart city project. Pune city has been selected as one of the 100 most resilient cities in the world as a part of a project in what is it selected? Okay. So Pune city has been selected as one of the 100 most resilient cities in the world as a part of the project initiated by the New York-based Rockefeller Foundation, which aims at creating a worldwide network of modern cities. The network will help to build resilience to the growing social, economic, physical challenges of the 21st century. So the Rockefeller Foundation had somehow made a selection of 100 cities across the globe, and this city happens to be among the 100, where we talked about these BSL 3 labs being set up since 1952. So all and if you read, I'll be putting on these links into the video description today, so you can go ahead and read them all. And if you just read these 4 or 5 articles, you'll be able to put together the dots and understand that this is a very detailed and very old plan which have been put together and systematically making people sick and huge. Basically, the idea of COVID initially, I thought when it hit, I thought it was population depopulation agenda, and a lot of people are going to die immediately because the government was already calling it a pandemic. A pandemic is where a lot of people die, and and a lot of people really did lose their lives. But again, the population of India might have shrunk in a minute percent for over some time. But then a lot of people started getting the side effects of the jabs. A lot of people started getting autoimmune issues. Kids were told getting measles, and ladies were getting breast cancers. There were men getting prostate cancers, and cervical cancers, and all sorts of different things. There is a new age list of medicines which have been introduced. So the thing is that they are putting the human form at dis-ease. Basically, they are diseasing the human body. They're artificially lowering or removing your biological immunity over a period of time, and then replacing it with medical and chemical immunity apparatus which they are setting up. They already set up the huge pharmaceutical industrial complex with clinical testings with so many Indian partners which are manufacturing it for them, and and the fun part is not everybody understands what is in the medicine actually, and they are not really bothered because they are getting a huge amount of money to produce it. Then they are getting a lot of such money to keep quiet and keep doing their job. And on top of that, as we talked about in the previous video, that people who are aiding this process are getting highest civilian honors from the Prime Minister's office, and the similar is happening everywhere across the globe as well. We saw Dr. Fauci got pre-pardoned from 2014 onwards last month, and President Joe Biden, who was moving out of office, pardoned a huge amount of people just a week before or 2 weeks before leaving office, and a lot of people were pre-pardoned. Dr. Fauci was along with it. So he got pre-pardoned for what? So he did his job according to himself, and his job was to advise people to be medically fit during a pandemic. So, and we know all the hue and cry which it created. People have alleged and that he is responsible for a lot of deaths for all those practices and pushing the vaccine, pushing false efficacies of the jab, pushing the experimental jab, this and that, and then he was pre-pardoned for doing his own job. So nobody is talking that what was wrong with the job, but yeah, that was it. So Dr. Fauci is just kind of an office bearer actually. He's an office bearer, and there is a grand conglomerate industrial complex who have been planning this for a century, where we are heading, and the apparatus has was jolted a bit during 2020 run, but it is still there and it is flourishing because the gravy train is still here. So we have this has just come to light because President Trump got elected into the office, and USAID, which was one of the major agencies which was funding similar programs and creating fake media, and which is a part of the problem. We got to know that there are many other things which has also been funded from the US one way or the other. So, and this is still on. So the thing is, I think this is the opportune time. This is probably the only last time where these things can be talked about again, or else there is uh, there is no fighting back if there is no will of the people to do this, undertake this. Do let me know about your thoughts, and, and let's see if we need to talk about this any further. Thank you so much. I think this is a big this video should make a big bang, or else if it is not able to make you think about where are we heading. So just read about the zombie apocalypse preparation kit from the CDC, and I hope that will make you think. Thank you so much.